This is
Positively Hygiene
with your host, Amber Lovatos,
Amy Parenti,
and Angela Doe.
Listen on as we dive into the positive of dental hygiene.
Today, who is a registered dental hygienist out of New Jersey, has been for 5 years, right?
Yep.
I think we're on the same timeline. So tell me a little bit about who you are and where you work.
So I'm a registered dental hygienist. I work in New Jersey. I work for a corporate office. Like I said, I've been a hygienist for 5 years.
And this is the first practice that you ever worked at too, right?
Somewhat. So I initially was a registered dental assistant first, and I worked at that office as a dental hygienist for about like a month. But it was kind of far away from my house, so I wanted to find something closer to me. So after a month of working there, I relocated to the new office I'm at now, and I've been there since.
And this is a private practice or is it corporate? Okay.
So you've been out 5 years and working at mostly the same practice for 5 years.
Yep.
Nice. Do you like it?
I love it. Yeah.
What do you like about it?
It's a little different than private offices I have previously worked at. They give me a lot more freedom to kind of dictate what I'm doing. Whereas in previously where I did work at a private office, what I noticed was the dentist really kind of took over everything that was being dictated, whether it's like supplies, what I'm using, how I'm treating the patient, scheduling. At the office I'm at now, what's really nice is, I kind of create my own schedule. So, I schedule all my patients' next appointments. So if I feel like, okay, I need a little over an hour with this patient, I can schedule, how I feel I need.
Do you have like a goal though for the month, or how do they keep? And I guess it depends on your pay structure. Is your pay structure production?
I'm
salary,
on production.
Hourly? Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
So I'm on a production. I do have a goal, but nobody actually really bothers me about it. They really don't say much to me. I pretty much kind of do what I'm supposed to, and I get to that goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then being production, you're paid on what you produce, not what you collect.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly it's pretty good, because it kind of motivates you a little bit more instead of, just always kind of doing the pro fee. I feel like sometimes hygienists, they tend to kind of, I don't want to say not care, but, they'll be like, all right, we're just doing a pro fee when the patient has like periodontal disease and they technically need like scaling root planing or something, it's kind of a little bit more motivating to be like, all right, this patient needs scaling root planing. I'm going to treatment plan that and actually do it, because I'm going to make more money.
Do you feel like you are compensated the same amount as a dental hygienist who's working hourly?
I think it's better like this because on an hourly, you're getting paid the same whether you're doing a pro fee or scaling or whatever it is. So it works out a little better, when you are doing scaling root planing, because obviously something like that costs more, so you're gonna make more.
Yeah.
I know I felt exhausted in offices past where I've been in private practice, and I'll do an SRP, I'll do a pro fee, and it'll be just someone, no calculus, and I'm barely doing anything. And then the next hour I'm dived into like an SRP, and I'm like, getting paid the same. Like that's not fair.
Yeah.
Like your wrist will hurt or your back hurts or your, it's just, and then you're kind of, you feel at a loss a little bit. So I like the idea of getting paid on production because I don't know.
Because yes, you are. You're doing more work for the same cost, which kind of makes no sense. If you're doing a pro fee and let's say you're making only $50 an hour and now, all right, you're doing scaling root planing and you're still only getting paid $50 an hour, but yet the office is producing more money from that appointment, but you're doing the work, it makes no sense.
Yeah. I think it allows maybe things to be a little bit more fair, especially even for maybe a dental practice where it is privately owned. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's some of the stressors that come to dentists is like, oh, I'm bleeding all this money and my employees aren't doing anything. Right. So it feels like both of you have a little bit of skin in the game. I can't relate at all though, because I work in public health and obviously we get paid less than the hourly for like a hygienist in private practice. And all we do is SRP. That's all we do. But yeah, like different. I've heard, conflicting things about DSOs. some people say like, don't ever work at a DSO. It is horrible. But I have one of my really good friends who has always worked for a DSO. She's been out similar years as you and loves it. Like absolutely loves it.
I really think it comes down to the office and how it's ran, because you can work at a private office and it'll be absolutely horrible. I mean, I've been at private offices where like they haven't bought new instruments for their hygienists ever, like, 10 plus years, begging for Cavitron tips or whatever it is. So, it really just kind of comes down to how that specific office is ran, because same thing with like DSOs, like there's offices that are ran well, and then there's some that are ran horribly. It's almost like you kind of just have to explore your options, find, you're never going to find anything perfect. You're really not. You're really not going to find that one office where check mark every single thing. But you just kind of explore.
I think I agree, because for me, like I work in public health and I started off in private practice and I hate it. I hated dental hygiene. I did not enjoy it. And then I got into public health and now I love it. So for some people, it could be in reverse, right? Like you could be in public health and think like, oh no, this is not for me, and end up at a DSO and love that.
Yeah.
I think we're all different, right? And the way that you practice can also be different. It doesn't mean that one is right and the other one is wrong. Dental offices that don't buy instruments, are you allowed to just order instruments? How does that work?
Kind of. So I get a budget that I can kind of spend every month. And they really don't say much to me. I don't go crazy with buying instruments, but if I need something, they let me buy it. I'm a GBT provider. And when I started working at that office, I was using a Cavitron, hand scaling, polishing. And I actually went to one of the conventions and I saw the airflow machine and I was like, whoa, I need that. So I actually just kept kind of begging the office for a little bit, because that is a big investment for the office, and I kind of tracked down all the pros and cons and why this investment would benefit the office. And they actually ended up buying it for me, which I really don't think, previously in like the private office I had worked at, that would have never been even an option, because like I said, they didn't even want to buy the hygienist a new Cavitron tip. So to ask for like, a big investment, like, the airflow machine, something like that, it was great. So they do give me a lot of leeway with how I spend money with the office.
What comes out of your budget? Just things that like auxiliary things that you need and want?
So there's different ways, I guess they track it. So things that are, instruments being used for me.
Things like your disposables, like patient bibs, prophy angles, paste, those would come out of your budget. Or like that budget.
So it's not, it's kind of hard to explain, because anything that like hand pieces, instruments, stuff like that, falls under a different category. And then like fluoride, for example, like, that's something that they're going to charge out. So that's falls under a different category. Okay. Yeah. So things that they're actually billing and patients are paying towards, it's a different category. But like tools and supplies, I get a certain amount that I can kind of spend every month. But if I need something, like they don't really like bother me, I can kind of just do what I want, which is nice. And they really do give me a good leeway with my schedule too, where I schedule patients how I feel like is necessary. I do have certain rules that like I tell them at the front desk, like, don't ever put a half-hour appointment in my schedule, and they respect that. So, once again, like I really do feel like it comes down to where you're working and how that office is ran, because, you could be working at a private office and it could be, great. And then it could be horrible. Same thing with a DSO, you could be working somewhere where it's amazing. And then same thing, it could be horrible. But,
Are there any benefits that they offer working at a DSO that maybe they wouldn't offer at a private practice?
Yeah. I'm sure some private offices do offer benefits, but, I do get health insurance if I wanted to. They do have like all the benefits that,
Yeah. So my friends, I have a couple who work for different DSOs. What I think one of the unique things and nice things is that they offer maybe for opportunities for leadership or upward momentum, like movement. One of my friends, the DSO she works for, they have like mentors, like hygiene mentors. So if you're a hygienist there, you could apply and then you can go around and mentor other hygienists. Another friend who works for a different DSO, she worked her way up and now works in like the tech department or something. And then the other one works in like with students, like she helps then recruit students to that DSO. Does your DSO offer that?
Yeah. So if I wanted to do something like that, I could. I know for a while they had a hygiene manager where, you know, they were coordinating everything. I don't know what kind of happened with that position, but you can kind of move up and do different things in the company, which is nice. So that's always an option if I ever wanted to explore.
Yeah. Any cons working at DSO? You must really like it if you think about like your cons.
Yeah.
You know, my specific office, I do truly, I love working there. I love my coworkers. So it's really kind of hard for me to say something bad, just because I'm very lucky. I do feel very lucky. I fell into such a great office. So, you know, I really don't have too much of a con.
Paper charting. You have paper charts,
yes,
right?
paper charts. We
As
still
a
have paper
liar, I've
charts.
seen
Yeah.
those.
Well, yes. So one thing I would say is like the office needs some reno, and they neglect that because that's not their priority.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is definitely one of my cons. I have sent an email before to corporate, like expressing my concerns about the shape of certain things going on, and they completely just ignored me.
But to choose between a good, positive environment, which sounds like you're in, versus paper charts, like it's, I mean, I think you're in the right spot. You know, right? To choose, aesthetics. My wall in my op.
I was going to say,
Dr.
like,
Cho will hate me for saying this, but I say it to him all the time. It needs some work. It needs a new paint. The place is, I think, 8 years old, and and Houston weather is not friendly.
No,
you know, so there's some wear and tear. But we have, you know, the GBT, like we're like, you know, we have great electronics and like. What am I trying to say? Like computerized, like all
tech.
like the tech. Yes, the tech is amazing, but the cosmetics.
Yes.
You know, so Amy was like, Amy,
Could
let's go
match.
use your office so we can take pictures. And she's like, no.
Guys, have you seen the TV in my op?
And so for anyone that does not already follow Hadir, her Instagram handle is @FitLittleHygienist. So she is also a content creator in addition to full-time hygienist with 90s, I'm assuming, TV.
Yes,
right?
big. It's like a big
boxy
box.
one? Oh
Yeah,
my
it
gosh.
doesn't even work. It's like it's like black and white.
Do you still have that poster? I remember you said, do you still have that poster in your room, in your op? Where, I remember a long time ago, you were like, patients always ask me where they fall on this chart.
Oh, yes,
The perio
yes,
poster.
yeah.
It's like well, you explain them.
So I just have like a chart where it's explaining like, you know, a healthy mouth, gingivitis, you know, early, you know, moderate perio, just kind of going down my wall. I had gone to a course and I got it at the course. So I ended up laminating it and sticking it on my wall. And I feel like Vanna White sometimes because I'm like, they're like, where do I fall? And I'm like, right down here.
That's the other thing too with your op that might not fly in private practice is you really brought your personality to your op. You have things that you've 3D printed, right, hanging out and stuff. I think that's really cool.
What have you 3D printed?
Everything. I print very random things, but I print like tooth, like you know, like teeth. Just random things, yeah. But like cute little things I'll put in my room, like little signs, like with my name on it.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I just kind of have fun with it. But yeah, that's another thing. They definitely give me the freedom to kind of like, they don't say anything to me.
I was going to say, like, do they say anything about you content creating? And well, I guess that's kind of like the beauty of being on production, right? So if you don't have a patient, then your time is your time.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Because I've had some experience, not me personally, but I've heard from other like content creators or aspiring content creators who have gotten in trouble because they're filming on the clock.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a no. Like if I'm filming before, after work or during lunch.
Yeah. I never really film while I'm working just because it's so chaotic, you know. there's 10 ops in my office. So like, that's not happening. And my coworkers, they would totally just photobomb every time. But yeah, for the most of the time when I am content creating, it's like either during lunch or like after work, or the weekend or something. And they all know about it. I know corporate is even watching it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So they know what's happening. And, no one says anything. Actually, they all think it's kind of positive because it does bring patients into the office as well. And almost like so many of my patients follow me too.
Oh,
so
interesting.
yeah, good and bad.
I was gonna say, like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Because we were talking about Craigslist. I guess I wasn't with you, but when I first got out of hygiene school, I posted like my resume on Craigslist, like looking for jobs for like job platforms and stuff. And I can tell how old I am, but this guy responded with a like very sexual email about like when he was a kid, his dental hygienist used to like rub her breasts on him.
Oh my God.
And it was like, I was like, oh my God, to me. But yeah, like, and I mean, obviously wasn't on Instagram or anything at that time either, but that's like a little like scary.
It gets creepy. I had one of my patients, he found me, added me, started just like going on like a liking spree, started commenting on my pictures like, I love you. I love when your hands are in my mouth.
Oh,
so I was like, okay, block, and slide into the other hygienist's schedule.
But you've had patients who follow you first and then go and
yeah,
seek you?
yeah. So I've had some patients that have found me and they've like traveled like an hour to come see me, mainly because they see that I'm a GBT provider and they find that very interesting. A lot of offices don't provide that. So, they start looking it up, I guess, and then they're interested. So then now they want to come to an office that provides GBT. So, it's definitely a pro. I've been to like meetings where they'll talk about my specific Instagram and they'll be like, well, you guys need to do what Hajir is doing. And like, some of them, they don't like that.
Who doesn't like that?
Like some of the other providers, they're not interested in that. They, they might think it's silly or whatever.
So it's like your DSO's conferences?
They'll have like meetings every once in a while. Yeah. So like, I know they had a meeting and they were discussing my page and they were saying like, like, even like I'll share like my Zoom whitening and stuff. And they'll be like, this is bringing patients or even patients that follow her already to be interested in wanting to have Zoom whitening done, which it has. Like, I'll share before and after pictures and I'll have some of my patients message me, like, oh my God, I need to have that done.
Yeah.
And then, it actually bring in, production like that.
I mean, I think it's wonderful that your company sees the value in social media because I do think there's a lot of value in it. On the other side of that, has that been hard for then your coworkers to have that kind of pressure if they're not interested in doing social media?
No one really says anything about it. None of my coworkers are on really social media like that. They follow me, but no one really like is interested in creating content, or posting or anything. But yeah,
it's interesting because like we talk about being on social media, but I'm not really on social media. Like I like post something and then I'm like off the app, So I think that's another misconception. People think that I think maybe we're like constantly on social or like when that's, I don't necessarily, I think the reality. How did you start or like your page? What was the idea behind?
So actually my page started off more so fitness, because I started it a while ago. I started actually when I was in dental hygiene school and I wish I would have shared more about dental hygiene school, but I was just always very into fitness. So I shared a lot about fitness and then I don't know. I just kind of started sharing more dental hygiene things and I noticed it was gaining more attraction. So I started, gearing my page more towards, my career and what I was doing and, kind of just like more lifestyle-ish, some humor to it. It's like a mix of everything. But yeah, it just started, doing well. It is kind of hard because I am a full-time employee as well. So I'm a full-time dental hygienist. So trying to create content and do everything, as well, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there could be a dark side to social media too. So I want to ask you a question because Amber and Angela always make fun of a certain type of person that will email me, or not email me, but message me. What's the creepiest DM that you've ever received? Because there's some creeps out there, and especially when you're content creating. And as a hygienist, I feel like we get attacked a little bit.
Yeah, no, I've gotten weird messages where, I guess it's easy to just Google my name and you'll find out exactly where I work, which I don't like that. So I've had someone message and say to me oh, I see you work here. I'd love to have you clean my mouth. I love your biceps and all this weird stuff about my muscles. I'm like, oh God. So front desk is very aware of that. And if any new patient specifically requests me, they'll put an alert. Yeah. So that is something that they are aware of. They keep an eye out because people are weird.
Yeah. And you have a unique name. First, I think I don't know. My name is very Googleable, just because, before social media, because I've done a lot of things outside of social. So I think my name is just out there because my name is out there for the things the work that I do.
You come up with, did you ever Google yourself and you come up with
yeah.
You have a header and everything. You're Google approved or Google verified.
I know, but yes, there's no escaping that for me, right? Even before I got on social, there was no escaping that because I have articles and presentations and things perks that I've worked in my book and things that I've done, right? But for new people, if you're just starting out, you don't have such a unique name, I would maybe just use your first name. Because I've had friends who people have Googled them and found where they work.
Yeah.
And it's caused problems for them. They've complained with their office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no escaping that with my name.
Yeah, exactly. That's a super unique name. But if I was just Amber, there's plenty of Ambers, right? Yeah. Or Amy, but nothing's ever happened to you.
No, well, don't jinx it.
No, I'm saying not something being scared. Nothing's ever happened to me either.
I've actually talked to Dr. Cho about before. I was a fear I had, because what did he say? He said something once, and I was like, what, a fear I have is that it will ever attract someone to come to the office or anything like that. And he goes, no, if anyone ever shows up, we're going to have you protected. And if anyone ever tries to say something bad about you.
Yeah.
But he's like, it's defamation. He's like, don't worry. He's like, we'll have your back 110%. Yeah. And I was like,
also shouldn't live in fear is I think what I was trying to say. I've never had anything happen to me. My page is very dentist, dental hygienist specific, not people community people specific. So I think that helps spare some of that because I'm not looking for patients and my page is not dedicated to patients. It's very strictly for dental professionals. So maybe that's why I've never run across any problems. I do have my comments limited though. And I'm doing a giveaway right now for a saddle stool and somebody DM'd, they're hey, we're trying to comment, but it won't let me comment. I was yeah, because you have to follow me to comment. So obviously you're not following me. I do limit that just because people, yeah, mostly because people are very, culture is a hard thing, right? And people are very protective of culture and very protective of Spanish. I teach Spanish is what I do. And maybe you say something one way in your country and I say it a different way in my country. And they're pues así no se dice, that's not how you say it. Or yeah. Or, so for those reasons I limit it so I don't get as much pushback.
Yeah.
Because either you like it or you don't like it. Otherwise, scroll on. But it just makes it harder for them to troll. They have to actually click a follow for them to comment.
My page has always been pretty good about trolls, but I do get attacked briefly every now and then. It's always by men.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Do you get trolls too ever?
Yeah, yeah. I just let them argue by themselves on the comments. Have fun.
It increases your engagement, right?
Yeah.
More. To be honest, half the time I don't read the comments. I'll post and then I get off and I'm oh, I should probably check if anybody liked this or said something. Because again, my entire life I'm not spending all my time on social. Otherwise, I think it consumes you.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. You have to almost schedule it. And that's kind of what I do. I'm all right, in the morning, I have a little bit of time here, later in the afternoon. And then, while I'm working, I don't have time to go on my phone. There's no time for that.
Work will inspire me to create the content. But then by the end of the day, sometimes I'm just tired. And then everybody at where I'm at, as soon as we're done with patients, they're let's go. Let's get out the door. So I'm actually building a dental room in my house.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. We'll
Smart.
see how it goes.
So
I
far,
have,
it's good.
Yeah, so far it's
The
good.
floor is down,
Yeah,
right?
the floor. I got floors. I found a
walls.
dental chair. Yeah, we'll see. But now my husband's like, well, maybe not that room. Maybe do it in a different room. So now I have to redo the other room.
Oh,
And I think
no.
it makes more sense because this one room that we're remodeling, it was a really big room. And so now my husband's like, oh, but see, this could be like the baby's room. And it could be, I was like, okay. And so we're going to get rid of our like formal dining room. And I think do the dental chair in the formal dining room, which is more like off to the side. So it's not like the first thing you come into my house and then there's a dental chair.
Oh,
right? Because that would be, yeah. So I think that's what we're going to do. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
My
I'll do
concern is
that.
like, how do I get it in the house? Like, will it fit through the door?
I have to dismantle it.
Yeah.
It comes in pieces, right? Isn't it usually the chair part is separate? I guess you'll
I don't
find out. I've
know.
never bought a
I
dental
have
chair
no idea.
before.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they said you have to just like be very specific about where it's being delivered.
So you found like a used dental chair?
No, I'm gonna buy it off of eBay. They're
Oh,
new. They're expensive. I mean, it's not that expensive. They're not like the best quality. I don't think they're like $3,000. So they can't be like the best quality. Which it's a prop. So and
doesn't
a business.
matter.
It's a
Yeah.
business expense. Yeah. And obviously, like the air and water is not going to work. It's the chair still will be operable. Like I can raise it up and lean it down. Like that will work because that's just powered. But you need a compressor for air and water, and obviously I'm not going to put a compressor in my house. Can you imagine? I do have portable dental equipment because I did portable dentistry, and I was like, just use that. I was like, no, see, it doesn't look as cool. So
You gotta play it off like you're really in a dental office.
exactly. Got to play it off. I mean, it's interesting because I think that my dental Spanish videos that are more educational are the ones where I am directly talking to the camera, so you can see my lips. But those aren't the ones that do as well. The ones that do like better are the skit ones, which you can't see me moving my lips. I don't think they're as good at teaching you Spanish, but those are the ones that perform better. And so it is about aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
So
There's
here's
too much.
that
There's so much to it.
I get asked all the time is how do you come up with content ideas? And there's so many times you'll post something. I'll always
you're so
watch.
good at having like ideas though.
No, but I feel like she's really good too. There's so many times if your stuff is on my feed, I stop. I watch. I don't care if it's anything. If it's an ad, I always watch your stuff. Even your water pick one that you did, I was like, oh man, she has some good ideas. Like I wish I did that. It was so well done. So how do you come up with these ideas?
So just throughout my day, if I think of something, whether it's funny or just like something that happens in my day, I'll write it down in a note. So my notes are filled with just like random things, like ideas, like just funny things that someone may have said to me during the day, or just like, whatever it may be, but I always jot it down. So,
Okay, I do the same thing, but for my Spanish. So when I'm talking to my patient in Spanish, I'm like, oh, that's not a phrase that I put online. That's the idea, which obviously different than like what y'all do, but
no, but it's similar.
similar.
You're
Yeah.
thinking as you're working, or you'll like be doing something. Like for me, a lot of I don't know. I'll be doing something and I'll like hear a trending sound in my head.
Oh,
like I don't.
interesting.
Yeah, like I can't even think of. I don't know. I can't think of any that are out there, but I'll do something. And like I think when I was doing sterilization once, and I like to help in sterilization. That's the one thing I hate. I think a lot of times people think hygienists like choose not to. I think it depends on where you live and the office that you're in and the dynamic of the office. I know in Connecticut we had one assistant for every dentist.
We have a sterile tech, and she does not want
nice.
us. She doesn't want us touching her stuff.
No.
she doesn't. She's
think-
like, Amber, you didn't rinse that. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Julie.
she's like, I got a system here.
yeah. She's like, you can
a
leave
lot
it
of times
there.
it's like that.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to load the autoclave.
Oh,
So but I don't think I ever did it wrong, or maybe I did. But then I know in Texas, there's a lot more assistants than there were up in the Northeast. I don't know I think the overhead up in the Northeast is a little bit higher because down here I know like where I worked, it was one assistant per dentist and everyone was all hands in sterilization. Right now where I am and where I've seen, it's usually 2 assistants per dentist. And then I worked in that office the other day that was 4 assistants for one dentist.
Wow.
So like,
wow.
yeah. So at that point, it's not that I don't choose to do sterilization. I can't get to it before
Yeah.
they can.
Yeah.
So then it just happens to be done. But then I could say also at the end of the day, I have less downtime,
yeah.
when you look at, where they're being. So I try to help out. And anytime, honestly, when the ultrasonic's full, I get so excited that I can like help because I get to feel like a hero. And I'm like, guys, I did this. And then, But I think one time I was rinsing off instruments and I was just like in my head, I think it was from The Office. I was like, I can't keep doing this forever. But I was like just joking around because I never get to do it, you know? But yeah, I think it's always, I don't know, it's always fun to be able to apply these things that the general population are using for so many different scenarios to our profession. I think that's, I don't know.
It's fun.
Keeps it fun.
It's fun.
We
Yeah,
try.
for sure. I think the reason maybe we have more assistants in Texas is because the way that you can become an assistant in Texas is pretty easy. Like you can just take an online course.
Oh, wow.
It costs
Really?
like $100. Yeah. So it's super, super easy. I think so maybe that's what it is versus like I lived in Minnesota for a little bit. And no, they had like all sorts of things that they had to do. They were really good though. Not saying that Texas hygienists assistants aren't good, but yeah. It's I think
In New Jersey, kind of similar. In order to be like, a registered dental assistant, you have to go to school for a year.
Oh.
You have some prerequisites you have to take prior. If you're just doing like radiology and like x-rays, you would just take like a radiology course, but you do have to take courses.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
yeah. You have to take a CODA approved course. Yes. It might even be CODA approved, but there is a online one and literally you could take it in a day. And the tests are like, you fail, you just retake it.
Yeah,
It's
wow.
the same like questions. And very different from when I became an assistant. Back then you had to take like national boards like you do for hygiene. And so we had to go to Pearson to take like the 3 was like,
Oh, wow.
it was like OSHA, jurisprudence, radiology, and I failed OSHA. So I had to retake that. You had to pay again, but it was like you had to legit study, and radiology was actual like radiographs and anatomy. It was intense.
Yeah.
It was intense.
OSHA is kind of tricky because I feel like with OSHA, it's not always what sounds right as the right answer. It's whatever protects you most.
Yeah.
You have to like take that test like selfishly, I feel like. Because sometimes I'll read it and I'll be like, oh, well, this, I'm like, okay. Like realistically, I would do this is what I'm being pulled towards. But then this one is like over the top safety. And it's just like, okay. Like no one's going to do that.
It's not as extreme as we think. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, Hadir, any tips for anybody who's interested in, maybe like words for anybody who's interested in doing a DSO and joining a DSO?
I mean, just, check out the office, see how it's kind of ran. I always say, look at the schedule. If you are going into an office, say, can I look at your schedule? Because you want to see how they schedule their appointments. That kind of tells you a lot right there, just what the schedule is looking like and what they'll kind of allow you to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. If people want to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you?
On my Instagram, Fit Little Hygienist.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much, Hadir.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Positively Hygiene.
Join us every Tuesday for a new episode.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram for the opportunity for how you can contribute to our podcast.
And follow and review Positively Hygiene on Apple and Spotify podcast.